Good afternoon, race fans, and welcome here as we cap off this race weekend with the Subway 400, race number 16 of the debut season of the PCSRA Winston Cup Series. After today, only 10 more races left to go until we crown the regular season champion and find out the 16 drivers that'll bout out for the overall championship here in the Winston Cup Series. On the pole position is Maddie Crenshaw in the 21 machine, comes into today's race as I look for her in the points. She is 33rd in the standings. Hannah Smith is alongside of her. She jumped up 10 spots rather to 17th position in the points. She is safely inside the top 10 for now. Ashley Horton in row number 2, former winner this season, and Jessica Miller is 16th in the points. Horton is like 6th in standings and all that. So, yeah. Here's the rest of your starting lineup for today's race, and we're going to get these cars rolling off, making sure all of the cars roll off accordingly. J TwoTwo is the points leader by 38 points over Josephine Bouvier. Cody Smart, 45 back, is third in the standings. Betty Johnson is fourth in the standings, 59 points back. And hold on a second. All right, let's try that again as everybody is rolling off, making sure nobody has had any problems. But as I was saying, Betty Johnson, fourth in the standings, 59 back. 60 back is Ben Tennyson, who is fifth, and the rest of your top 10 is Ashley Horton, Annie Crenshaw, Luke Knight, Elena Aurora, and Margaret Jacobs, your top 10. It's like nobody's having some issues, so that is good news for me and you. We had a Zara Mirmoz go to victory lane for the third time in yesterday's Busch Series race. What will we see here in 20 laps time? We're going to find that out right now. Here we come to the green flag, and we're racing at the Rock for 20 laps in the Subway 400. Maddie Crenshaw now to the race lead. Here comes Ashley Horton in the 10. Cody Smart trying to make it 3 wide. We'll see if Cody Smart's going to lead the first lap or not, or is it going to be the 10 machine? Looks like it's going to be the 10, but Cody's going to have the preferred line going into turn number 1. Cody is third in the points, trying to run down J TwoTwo for the points lead. Everybody's scattering, and we've gotten through the first 2 laps. The answer is yes. A couple of drivers we need to keep our eyes on during the course of today's race. Zachary Taylor, who is a total of 18 points back of 30th in the standings, which is a tie between Brad Lewis and Marty Stevens. Stevens is also tied for that 30th position in the standings. So Stevens needs a good run, or he could find himself falling outside the top 30 in points to have his win not count for a playoff berth. And then Annie Thomas came into this race a total of 52 points back, or no, check that, 51 points back of 30th in the standings. So she needs to have some good, consistent runs if she wants to get back in the top 30 in the points to have that win count for a playoff berth. Hannah Smith right now in second. Last week's winner from Kentucky. I heard some scraping. Oh, we got a wreck. Betty Barrett's wrecked in the back. I just missed it because I was too busy. Oh my God, Courtney Lynn's involved. That's not good for Courtney. Courtney Lynn is involved, and the caution is out. Todd Montgomery got a piece of it. Betty Johnson is involved. Betty Barrett's caught up. Ben Tennyson's involved. Samantha Grainger, and the yellow is out. I was just about to get ready to mention Courtney Lynn, 26 in the points. This might have taken her out of the top 30 in points to have her win not count for a playoff berth. So the yellow is out for the first time today. Let's jump back and look at a replay to find out what happened. And here's what happened to Courtney Lynn as she was in a 3-wide situation with Cooper and Barrett, and she just hooked the BAM Racing Dodge in the left rear and took both cars into the wall, and she goes for a wild ride. We'll look at the incident in the background in just a second as the 5 car just goes tumbling upside down. I don't know how in the world P Albanus didn't get collected. Or actually, he did nick the rear end of the Kellogg Chevrolet. But how did Betty Johnson get involved? Looks like she's already got damage. Was there a wreck before this? Yes, there was. We had that was actually the follow-up wreck. What caused this one? It's like Grainger. Oh, yep, Grainger got into Tennyson. Nearly got Venko Seaman involved. Took both cars into the wall. Tatum Wright nowhere to go. There's where Betty Johnson's going to get a piece of it. So that's what brought out the yellow. And the incident on the back straightaway was the follow-up wreck. As Betty Johnson gets involved, there's Todd Montgomery running into the Net Zero Pontiac. And then the wall goes to 77. Betty Johnson came in this race running well in points in the 4th position in the standings. Todd Montgomery 18th in the points. And then there's the wreck further up ahead with the 49 in the 5. And then right there is where Ponzo gets the Kellogg Chevrolet. So Courtney Lynn's no doubt going to be out of the top 30 in the points. And Betty Barrett comes into this race in the... looking for her in the standings. And I cannot find her. She's 14th in the points. So a couple of drivers who came in running well in points really going to take some hits. So that's what brought out the yellow for the first time today. Let's jump to the restart here at the Rock. Green flag going to come back in the air on lap number 10 to 20, which will signal the halfway point of today's race. Cody Smart is the leader. Tom Montgomery's a lap down. Hannah Smith second. Ashley Horton third. Fourth, Riley Anderson. Fifth, Annie Thomas. That's a well-needed run for Thomas. Erickson, Cooper, Miller, Reynolds, and J TwoTwo, the points leader, completes the top 10. Drivers out after that incident, 4 to be exact. Betty Barrett, Samantha Grainger, Courtney Lynn, and Tatum Wright. 39th is going to definitely take Courtney Lynn out of the top 30 in the points table. Also, Samantha Grainger, who's a former winner this season, 13th in the points. She'll continue to drop through the standings. Tatum Wright, 11th in points. Betty Barrett, I mentioned, 14th in the points. And also, I mentioned the 0-1, 5th in points involved. Betty Johnson was involved, 4th in points. Check that. So a couple of drivers inside the top 10 in the points who were running well in the standings did not need something like this to happen to them. So we're going to have another point shakeup heading into next week at Dover. And we'll have 10 more races left to go until we find out who makes the playoffs. Yellow's out for the second time today. And who brought out this yellow? Kevin Joseph. Looks like he's the only driver involved I see, unless there's some cars on pit road. And whoa, Betty Johnson just got dumped by Elena Aurora and nowhere for the 0-1 to go. What was that all about? Elena Aurora just dumped her teammate Betty Johnson for really no good reason. I really want to know what the deal is with the ex-PCSRA drivers taking out Betty Johnson and Annie Thomas the last couple of weeks. Good night. Caution's out for the second time today. Let's jump back a little replay to find out what happened to Kevin Joseph. Well, another driver who was trying to get himself back in the top 30 in points, Zachary Taylor, was involved in this with the Brad Lewis machine, and Kevin Joseph slid up into the Kodak Dodge. Looks like Taylor already got into the wall there. And around went the Grainger Ford, and I really don't want to look back at a replay of the 31 and the 22 because they've just called the 31 to the hauler, and rightfully so. Lena Aurora was 9th in points, so that was definitely not what she needed, and I just don't understand why she just wrecked the Caterpillar Dodge, but that just really upsets me. But yellow's out for the second time today. That was the reason. Kevin Joseph spun. He continues on. We're going to get back to the restart here at Rockingham. Getting ready to go back to green with 5 laps to go. Riley Andersen, the leader. Cody Smart, second. Ashley Horton, third. Ben Erickson, fourth. Jessica Miller, fifth. J TwoTwo, the points leader, in sixth. Cooper, Reynolds, Watts, and Brooklyn Carter complete the top 10. Annie Thomas is going to restart in the 14th position. And Hannah Smith has taken her car behind the wall with an engine failure. She will join Kevin Joseph, Betty Barrett, Samantha Grainger, Courtney Lynn, and Tatum Wright, who have all gone behind the wall and out of the race. We're going to have 33 drivers of the 34 on the lead lap. The 77 will be one lap down as usual. Next caution that comes out will end this race under the yellow flag. Kevin Joseph 27th in points. This will drop him out of the top 30 in the standings. Green flag back in the air with 5 to go. Riley Andersen should have could have won the season opener, but had that engine failure and finished 30th. Riley Andersen, 21st in the points, would like to get a win to get herself into the playoffs. And I haven't seen where Marty Stevens is running. Stevens is running in the, as I'm trying to find the 97, he's running in 25th. I think he's going to be another driver that's going to fall outside the top 30 in the points to have his win not count for a playoff berth. And Betty Johnson said some expletives on the radio, which I doubt she is going to be happy with A Aurora. As we're down to 2 laps of racing to go. As we're going to come take the white flag. 1 more lap to go. Sponsored by Credit One Bank. Riley Andersen really needs a win to get herself in the playoffs, but don't count out Ben Erickson, the 41, who's going to play spoiler. As Riley made a mistake, and that's going to allow Ben Erickson to take the lead and also win the Subway 400. Riley Andersen made a mistake, costed her the win for the second time. She does not get the win. Ben Erickson does, and now has Ben Erickson possibly locked himself a spot into the playoffs. That's a win that 41 team definitely needed. And Erickson came in this race 28th in the points, so this could be an interesting situation where he will be situated heading into next week. Riley Andersen will come home in second. Still a good result for her. Jessica Miller, third. Cody Smart in fourth. And we'll have to see where this is going to situate him as far as the points lead is concerned, because he was only 45 points. I think J TwoTwo would still keep the points lead. Melissa Cooper comes away in fifth, 15th in points. Will keep herself in the top 15. Mia Watts gets 6. Ashley Reynolds 7th. Monica Towns, Brooklyn Carter, and Jerry Harvick complete the top 10. J TwoTwo came home 13th, but with the big enough point lead he had over Cody Smart, he'll still keep the points lead, though. The good news for J TwoTwo, the gal that was trying to run him down for the points lead, which is Josephine Bouvier, came home in 24th. Marty Stevens came home 19th. We'll see if 19th is going to keep him in the top 30 in the points. Annie Thomas came home in 23rd. We're going to have to see where this is going to situate her heading into next week's race. Zachary Taylor, I don't think 28th is going to get him in the top 30 in the points, because he needed a lot of drivers ahead of him to have troubles, but that never happens. You look on down to the remainder of the finishing results. A couple of drivers came in running well, and points going to take some hits. I mentioned Bouvier, 24th, came as race second in points. Ben Tennyson's going to take a hit, 5th in the points table. Betty Johnson, 4th in the standings, 32nd for her. Todd Montgomery was a lap down. Tennyson was the last car to finish on the lead lap. And then these drivers, 6 of them, did not reach the conclusion of the checker flag. Hannah Smith due to an engine failure. And then Kevin Joseph, Betty Barrett, Samantha Grainger, Courtney Lendot will definitely take her out of the top 30 in the points. And Tatum Wright, who all went behind the wall from our 2 cautions here today at the Rock. But congratulations to Ben Erickson as Chip Ganassi Racing goes to victory lane for the first time this season. Was that enough to lock themselves a spot in the playoffs with 10 races to go? We'll have to wait and see. Next week, we're off to the Dover International Speedway, where we will have Just Bush and Winston Cup Series coming your way. from the Monster Mile. Hope you'll join us for that. If you enjoyed today's race, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to become part of the PCSRA crew today. We showed your full finish results. Your point standings are down in the description heading to the Monster Mile next week. Until then, I've been Dino signing off. Goodbye from Rockingham, as you've been watching yet another broadcast of PCSRA TV, where champions are made since 2010 and 15 years as the best center racing around the world since 2017. See you next week from Dover.